To rock.
I'm getting you ready. You're good.
Ladies and gentlemen, howdy and aloha. We are here, you are there, and we appreciate you tuning in for another episode of Airey Bros Radio. Tonight we're back on the track and we are recapping the 2025 NCAA Division II Outdoor Track and Field Championships with five elite coaches from the top programs in the country. But before we get rolling, you know the drill. Smash that like button. Make sure you are subscribed. Drop a comment. Every review, and share helps us grow and give back to the sport we love. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. This episode, as always, is sponsored by Black Sheep Endurance for all your nutrition, endurance, and coaching needs. And let's not forget why we're here tonight. We're here to shine a light on the coaches, athletes, and mentors we wish we had growing up. If you're chasing endurance, community, or purpose, this one is for you. So, as I mentioned, we have a couple coaches joining us as guests this evening. We are kicking it off to start off the episode with Coach Matt Van Lierop and Coach Paul Domenech from Wingate University. They are fresh off a first-time fourth place podium finish at the Division II Championships with 14 All-Americans and 3 SAC titles in a row. Coach Van Lierop and Coach Domenech led a breakthrough year with podium finishes, multiple All-American athletes, and the legendary Titouan Legrix capping his career in historic fashion. Coach Van Lierop, Coach Domenech, it is an honor and pleasure to have you joining us. Welcome back to the show. How are y'all doing this evening?
Great. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. We are excited to get into it. It was fun watching the championships, rooting for all of our friends that we've had on the podcast. We had Coach Morris on as well, so we were excited to see how the host school did with everything. And as two people who have lived in the Mile High State, we're curious for you guys as with the distance runners who scored a bulk of the points at nationals for Wingate. Was there any tweaks or anything with the training leading into the national championships that you did, and or was there any differences in racing strategies, knowing that you were going to be under a little bit of oxygen deficiency?
You want to talk about the training?
Yeah, I mean, we made a huge adjustment. I feel like we went there 2 years ago and we were like, it's the same for everybody, kind of mentality. And we learned that it's not the same for everybody. Like if you live there, you perform better there. And in our events, especially 5K, 10K, but you can say in the bulk of the distance events, the RMAC is a very strong conference and they all happen to live there. And we did not do a good job 2 years ago. And so we definitely had to adjust. And I guess like the main thing we did was we actually took our guys to altitude for like 2 weeks or like, yeah, a little bit over
12 days,
12, before nationals. The biggest problem was that timeline was during final exams, so we couldn't take them away too far from campus. So yeah, we found this little town in North Carolina that's about what 3.5 hours away,
Yeah.
something like that. It's horrible for running, but it's high. It's high enough, like you're basically on top of a peak and you can only go down from there. And it's extremely hilly, but the town is called Beach Mountain, and we took all our guys there and all our girls there, and we just shuttled them back and forth so they could do their finals, and then after the final, we'd just drive back up, and that was a process that lasted like 14 days or so, and
More difficult for the coaches.
Probably harder for the coaches than for the athletes, but and to be fair, the training over there was horrible. Every single run was like, I don't know, like over 1,000 feet of climbing, and not ideal, to the point that I was like, are we cooking these people before nationals? But we had a good track facility close enough where we could use, and the guys found
Shout out to Lise McRae.
Yeah, Lise McRae College, D2, let us use their track, and Yeah, they found the flattest piece of road and they just did every single run 1 mile up and back and forth and got the job done. So that was the main thing, I would say. And then yeah, we adjusted especially for the 10K a little bit, like they're kind of like, I guess, speed limits for our guys to make sure that they were not crossing the red zone too early. 5K, everybody was so exhausted anyways that it just kind of didn't matter. It was kind of like, well, give the best you can. And honestly, for the 15 and the steeple, we did not change so much. We felt like the guys were in a good place from the altitude camp that we didn't adjust too much.
Yeah, it's basically something we talked about early in the season was try to blow up the 1500 because you shouldn't be affected too much in that.
hmm
So that was our attempt. Yeah.
I would say you blew it up pretty well. Would you say so?
It's pretty good.
That was pretty solid.
Yeah.
I'm sure Tituan, if he's listening, he'll know like he wanted one spot better. But and yeah, that race will probably haunt us a little bit because
Yeah.
I do feel like he was a spot better, just maybe didn't execute. And that's everyone, himself and the coaching staff. Like we didn't, I think we were not courageous enough to like make a more aggressive tactic, but it happens. But yeah, overall, I think the 1500 was great for us.
Okay. Coach, you're Coach Lierop, you got Lehigh roots. Are we going to see a 4x mile at Penn Relays next year?
I mean, that's up to Paul. But it happens to be, I mean, this shouldn't really matter, right? It happens to be the same weekend as our championship for conferences. I mean, I'm sorry, it does matter. But we could take like 4
Yeah,
people from
it's
each
like 3
gender.
days before.
Yeah.
I think maybe this year would have been the year.
Yeah.
Because we have a few of those guys graduate. Not that next year we're going to be bad, but it's definitely like you want to take advantage of a 334, 1500-meter runner if you
Yeah.
can. But yeah, why not?
Yeah.
All right.
Good idea.
So you guys said it was your first time bringing home some hardware from nationals in track. I believe you have 3 others in cross country, correct?
Yeah, there's some from that. Yep.
Right. So what do you think the difference was this year in bringing home some team hardware on the track side of things?
It was a combination of a few things that just fell into place at the right time. One of them would be a whole bunch of people being in their 4th or 5th year, trained very well by this guy over here. And then that whole idea that we had 2 years ago about let's take them to altitude before we go. And then just we came back here for one day for graduation, and then we jumped on a plane the next day and went out there. And then some really great, race strategies put together by Mr. Domenech. Yeah, all fell into place at the right time.
As far as looking at the whole program from a bird's eye view, what do you guys think you did great this year? Really hit the nail on the head, and what do you wish you could have back?
I would say getting them ready at the right time. And what we could have back, we kind of just mentioned it. If we could go back in a little time machine and maybe reassess how to do that 1500, right? Yeah.
I mean, I think, and you probably, when you speak to the other programs, again, they're a lot more experienced into how to deliver at that stage, but I doubt they'll all come out and say, oh, everybody performed perfectly fine.
Yeah.
There was no issues at all. Like, of course, every team has, a couple performances that are like, what just happened? Like, that was not expected. And maybe sometimes in a positive way or in a negative way. Like, when you have so many people, like, I guess even those, again, the 3 programs that are coming after us, they had even more people than us. But I would say how many guys did we have? Like 14, maybe no,
13 guys.
13 guys. It's impossible for all 13, especially when they're all coached by the same kind of event group. Like there's no way like they're all gonna be perfectly fine. So, but overall, I think we had like a good success rate with our performances, and yeah, I would say everything went to plan. It just that 1500, I think, will burn us a little bit.
I mean, every time something unfortunate it will go sideways, for us, we'd be like, oh, that's too bad. But then something would go sideways for another team. I'd
Yeah.
be like, all right, yeah, that's happened.
That's just what national is. I mean, I guess like one thing you didn't say, and maybe you didn't want to say it, but it's one of our best steeplechasers got disqualified in the
I
semifinal
want to talk about that.
for allegedly stepping on a line when he was by himself, just completely alone in the semifinal, finished second. Like he was 30 seconds cleared of qualifying time. That probably is the stuff that it's not even the points. That I mean, I believe he would have at least got second, but that's just my opinion. It doesn't matter. But it's not the points, it's like that experience was taken away from him. And as a fifth year senior who's had a pretty up and down year, and he was coming in a really good place. He was finally finding his, mojo again in the steeplechase, which is his best event, and to like he missed nationals indoor by like 2 spots, and things like that, and gets back at the national meet, does the whole 2 weeks at altitude, and when we go to altitude, just to clarify, like we were on not big enough house, sharing beds, like 2 bathrooms for like 14 people, like it wasn't glamorous at all. So he did this whole thing, and to be ready to perform and to miss that opportunity, I would say that's the part that hurt me the most, and it has nothing to do with our control, but that's the stuff I wish we could have changed.
Yeah, I think we all cried a little bit.
Yeah, that was hard.
Well, how do you? I mean, that's a tough one as a coach. That's a tough one for your fifth year senior. Also for the team as you're hoping on those points. Like, what's the approach to handling that conversation with the fifth year senior, but then also for the other athletes that still have events that you need them to put that out of their head so they can show up and do what they need to do.
Oh, definitely starts out with a lot of hugs,
Yeah.
a lot of sad stuff. And then Paul redirected everything.
Yeah. I mean, I think it helps that it affected the person that it affected. He's always been very team driven and like always, put the team first. So he was the first one to turn himself around, even if it was fake, even if it was just to help his teammates and his friends. So he kind of had our back when we were like, hey, like just do it for him, or let's just, let's not let that affect what's coming. But I mean, it's impossible not to affect it when that guy is like literally best friends with the other two steeplechasers that are about to line up the next day. Like they've lived together for 4 years. They share every single mile, and they finished 1, 2, 3 last year. And one of their, best friends just got put in that position, and it's impossible for that not to affect the other two or the other three guys that were on that final, and even the rest of the meet. But I think we did our best at just kind of communicating with the team and letting them know like, hey, these things happen. It's not fair, or he doesn't deserve that, but it's nothing we can change. So let's just go win a title, or let's get on the podium to redeem ourselves.
Yeah, Paul had a really good team meeting the morning after that really helped the group.
Was there an appeal process or anything that was allowed, or no?
Yeah, we donated $50 to the NCAA.
How do you guys recover from something like that, right? You got to be there for your guys. You got to be there to keep them strong and give them that speech to turn them around. How do you recover from that? And is it a game face and on the inside you're ripping yourself apart, or is it, hey, we gotta perform here and we'll cry about it when we get home?
Yeah, I mean, the number of times Paul can agree with this that we're not doing anything in front of the athletes, but when he and I are alone, I'm over and over again, I said, I'm just not okay with this, just over and over. And he kept saying, there's nothing we can do about it, So voice of reason over here. But I was just not getting over it, days. I was just, I just kept eating away,
Just still bothering you?
A little bit.
Yeah, I get.
can imagine.
I'm right there with you. I got stuff from decades ago that still bothers me. But Coach Van Lierop, you said that you had a bunch of upperclassmen, and we know when you're recruiting new guys, you kind of want to fill those gaps. But also, we know recruiting, having those plaques that you have behind you, having the good runners that you guys have had leaving, right? You use them to promote and get kids in. What is the legacy of this class leaving?
Oh, I mean, we going into this year for recruiting, mostly Paul, bringing in the distance runners. We had thought, okay, this is going to be like a kind of like not a rebuild, but a reload. Maybe we'll have less people on the team next year. We'll see, because it's such a big class that was leaving. The opposite happened, unfortunately for Paul. And I think that's a combination of just, really great recruiting like he does. And, this tradition that's been created. A lot of people, they're just getting in touch, with Coach Paul and myself and saying they just want to come here. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, when we talked last time, around this time last year, or actually it was earlier, but we touched on the fact that for American athletes, it's kind of, they turn their nose down or turn their nose up, whatever one it is, to Division II, and they don't see the fact that they have guys running 3:34 and multiple men running under 14 minutes. They don't see the SEC or that. Have you seen with the increased and continued success that any people from America are reaching out?
I
Paul
think
had some good stories.
I think the funny story is actually more so on the transfer side. Obviously, we can go into like D1 and their readjustment, but we won't. So, but the reality is there is some D1 athletes that may need a new home, and they're the ones who are now kind of reaching back. And some of them who we reached out 2 years ago and never got a response, we're getting their email now. And I actually, was recruiting a person, and he asked me about the international piece, and I was straight up. I told him, like, 2 years ago, would have you responded to my email? And he said no, and said, there you go, the answer is done. But now you are, because you're mature, you've experienced the NCAA, that you know that what you need is not really D1. What you need is like a good coach and a good program and a good place. And so, yeah, it's been interesting to kind of have those conversations with some of those Americans, more on the transfer side. But honestly, we have a huge class on the men's side, and we have a lot of Americans, very, very good Americans, that are starting to be more interested. I do think that this roster cap thing is scaring people away, and no, that's not it's unfortunate that there's less spots now, but at the same time, it's, I think, allowing kids to have more of an open mind and saying, like, okay, well, maybe I can't go D1, let me see what is in D2, and then they end up finding out, or even in D3 or NAIA or whatever, and they end up finding out, like, oh, actually this player is pretty amazing, I would be a good fit there.
Yeah, I literally just said something yesterday, maybe the day before to you, where looking at the incoming class and a large group of Americans that are coming in, I said to Paul, can we win the conference championship with freshman Americans? Is that possible? I think it is.
I guess, yeah. I don't think we'll see that happening necessarily, but could be a nice experiment.
Yeah.
Well, also when I saw you all last, was at the Southeast Regional meet, and you guys rolled to impressive fashion. I know some of those gentlemen are going to be graduating. What are we looking at? What are we predicting for the fall? How are things shaping up? Are guys going to be around on campus all summer, or are they going to maybe do under 23s or stuff like that abroad?
So yeah, I guess nobody's really on campus. There's not, I don't know about other schools, but it's not something that really happens much here at Wingate. Like, everybody goes. But yes, I guess I sent an email to the team yesterday, actually, kind of explaining that, like, we have a little bit of an awkwardness of, like, some people are trying to, like you said, qualify for under 23s because they're in a good position within their age group. Some are taking a break. Some freshmen are still coached by their high school coach to finish up their season. Some, it's like a bunch of, like, I guess, crossroads that we have to manage. But yeah, like, I think we're gonna, like we always do, bring everybody together in the fall and get them in line. And we always take our time in racing anyways. So yeah, excited about about that, honestly. And yeah, I'm really excited because it's a different group of people, so we get to, you know, attempt to win again with a different fate. Of course, not everybody's going to be different, but
Yeah.
a big group will be different, so it'll be interesting to see what we can do.
Yeah, lots of surprises in store.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited. Are you guys going to be back down here in Spartanburg for that, or where's that at this year?
Wingate.
That's Wingate.
Oh, so you guys are hosting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Jim, we'll have to put that on the
Put
calendar.
it on the list. Put it on the list.
Should be a
Paul,
fun.
you said a lot of the guys they're all over the place, and you have some high school kids that are coming in that are still being coached by their high school coaches or their club coach. Do you have any guys that are doing their own program that were on the team last year? Or are you communicating with everyone, giving them their workouts? Is it individual or is it one size fits all?
No. It's crazy right now because like you know, they go back to your, I guess, to answer your first question, like everybody who was here and is coming back next year is still being coached by us. So I it's that weird situation where when they're here, we picked what races they race so I can plan. When they go home, there's so many countries, and it's like I don't know what races are in, whatever, like UK or France or whatever it is. So they tell me what races they're on. So some races on a Tuesday, and then the next race on a Wednesday, and like all kinds of crazy things. So I have to kind of really personalize everyone's training. Um, and every year I struggle with it, but I think this year I got a better handle on how to manage everyone. And they're literally on their own personalized plan, each one of them. And so yeah, I mean, and some guys who are who are not returning, who graduated, are still coached by me as well. So it's a big group, as well as the ones who are joining us and kind of jumping into our summer block. Then they're also starting to be coached by our staff. So again, it's a big yeah, it's a lot of different itineraries.
So probably like 100 individual training programs, right?
Yeah, probably something like that.
Yeah.
Are you using something like Training Peaks or Swift or anything to
I looked
manage all that?
I looked into that, but it doesn't work for me. I actually, I don't know about, I looked at Training Peaks, and I actually looked at the Garmin, like, I guess, interface as well. And I spend more time creating the workout than typing 5 by a mile at tempo pace. Like that's so easy to do, as opposed to creating the rests periods and all of that. And it just took me too much time. And then for some people, that workout happens on a Tuesday, and for some others on a Wednesday, for some others on a third. It was like, whoa, like I can't just click the workout, put it on everybody's calendar, and so on. It was too much individualization for me to actually take advantage of that.
Okay.
So we are on a spreadsheet, I guess.
Google Sheets that's fine. That works too.
Yeah.
Are the Bulldogs still fans of Double T?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Okay.
So we know when it comes to distance running, Wingate, you guys have that on lock. You guys are gonna do good in cross country. You're gonna do good in all the distance events and track. Now, to climb up the ranks, especially in track and field, got to be filling up those field events and some of the sprints. How do you recruit people in those events, knowing how good you guys are in the distance events? Do you have any pushback from kids saying, "Oh, you guys are distance I don't want to go there"?
We sometimes hear that. Yeah. But we also have that added piece where it's like, well, if they can do that in that area, what can they do in my area? And we definitely try to sell that, concept as well. We do have the right people, to make that happen. We're just gonna need a little more time to gain more traction.
And I think with that also, it's like Coach Matt has only been here for what, 5 years now.
Yeah.
So it's like it looks like, I mean, we got a national trophy, and in cross country we had huge success, but it's still a very young, like, tenure here. So, and I feel like he's proven so many times that if you give him time, he'll get these full program. Like, I mean, I ran for him, so I know very well. But at Mount Olive, like, we got 4x1 going to nationals for. There was a year that was like more sprinters than distance
Yeah.
runners, and it was like, there you go, like
That was year 10. So
yeah,
was
it
like-
was exactly like 4x1, 4x4. We had throwers there. We had Ty Smith,
Yeah.
distance runner.
There's like only one distance runner.
Yeah, so it's like I feel like that's kind of in the process, but when you start building with cross, then obviously those guys will still be in the track, do well, but then you kind of build around it, and that's kind of, I guess, the phase we're in.
It takes time.
Coach Van Lierop, you said that was year 10 with
Yeah.
all the sprinters and stuff. How long does it take, in your opinion, to build a dynasty track and field program?
10 years. No. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Ask the Pitt State guy.
yeah, exactly. I was gonna
Okay.
just say, ask the other 3 that are coming on after us. I'll tell you, 1 year. I don't know.
Yeah.
It takes time. Building the core. I like the start. I feel like I said this on the last
Yeah.
podcast. I don't need to repeat it. Probably. Yeah.
No, I remember you said you were gonna build with a distance program. Is it going? Are you on time? Are you where you want it to be
Yeah,
in year 5?
Yeah, we are definitely heading in the right direction, and the rest of the nation's going to start seeing other things happening. So yeah, give us time.
Coach Paul, how's the coffee game going these days?
Good. Yeah, I've been introducing my portable espresso machine around to the rest of some of the other coaches, and it was taken with good success. So yeah, no, it's good. I'm still on my subscription. I get my beans every month. I think potentially, I don't know when we exactly spoke, but I upgraded my coffee machine since last time. I think potentially, but I'm very happy with it. So yeah,
What do you got now?
It's not that I wish I could actually have. I mean, I take this. I'm in charge of finding the coffee shops on the staff, and I look them up on Google Maps and like make sure they have the coffee machine that I like, which is called La Marzocco. And when they have that machine, that's where we go. So I wish I could buy that, but it's a bit too expensive. But I have a DeLonghi Specialista right now, and it's good. It's not the best top of the line, but it works for me. And the beans are really good. So yeah, 2 espressos a day, and that does the job.
Okay. Were you able to find a good coffee shop in Pueblo?
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did actually. They had the coffee machine that.
And what was that one called? Shout out to them.
Uh,
Sacred Bean or something like that.
Sacred Bean.
Yeah.
Okay, Sacred Bean.
Yeah.
So you actually look up the coffee machine at the
Coffee
shop
shop.
before you
Yeah, I
go.
look at all the pictures until I see somebody posting a picture of the actual machine. So I can identify if that's a successful pick.
That's
He
next
puts us
level,
to
Jim.
shame, Rich. He puts
I-
us
We
to
need to step
shame.
up our game.
Yeah.
I rarely miss. Like
Yeah.
there's a couple of times that I've missed and I've been so upset at myself. Like, sorry guys, I took you to a bad place. But I'm usually pretty good.
So who are the other coaches that are on your level in terms of their coffee game, or that you're sharing your portable espresso with?
I mean, I don't think they're on my level, to be honest. But I mean, I think it's weird if you're on my level, so it's probably a good thing if you're not on my level. But yeah, we were on the same hotel as Texas A&M Kingsville, and those guys were looking at me weird when every morning I was pouring my espresso machine.
Okay. All right.
Well, speak of the devil, there's Texas A&M. How you doing, Coach?
Doing good. How are y'all?
We're
Doing
doing
well.
well. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Well, Coach Paul was saying that you guys were sharing the same floor at the
No,
No, I think it's
hotel.
different.
No, this is
Different.
Kingsville.
Kingsville.
Different
Kingsville.
Texas.
Oh, different Texas? Okay. Rich, you got anything else for Paul and Coach Van Lierop before we get rocking and rolling with Coach Stewart?
Just one last thing, Coach Paul. I know you're a big fan of cycling.
Yes.
So keep an eye out in the coming weeks. We're going to have Phil Liggett back on to do a Tour de France preview. So he'll be joining us. What was that, Jim? The 18th?
Next Monday?
Next Monday. So we'll be going live with him in the morning. So stay tuned for that. And then are you going home this summer?
Yeah, a little bit. I'll be watching the Tour de France here in the US though, so I'll be hearing him the whole month of July.
Is there something else you're doing this summer?
You getting
Yeah.
married?
That's that's right. That's right.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I outed him. Yeah.
Go ahead, Jim.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure to catch up with you guys, and we cannot wait to keep up with you guys in the fall. And keep an eye out. You're gonna see the Airey Bros at some point. So see
Cool.
you
Look
around.
forward to it.
Have a great summer, gentlemen. Good seeing you. Thanks for joining us. Coach Stewart, welcome.
Well, thanks. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
It is an honor and a pleasure to have you joining us. Just a little rundown for our fans. Coach Stewart is joining us from West Texas A&M. You remember a couple weeks back, we had Coach Daniel on to talk about cross country and the distance program. The men were second at nationals and the women were fourth at the Division II Nationals, as we mentioned when we jumped on here. And we are excited to chat with you about the team's success, the program, the future, and just hear overall about your experience in Pueblo.
All right. Yeah. I'm glad to share all those experiences with y'all. So yeah,
Awesome.
we've I think we've been runner up 5 years in a row on the men's side, so that's getting kind of old. So, we're just haven't broke through yet. So hopefully we're close.
Well, the Gorillas up at Pitt State are pretty tough, and they're pretty well rounded. They score points all over the place. So, what, in your opinion, to get over that hump, to get on the top of the podium? Not that second place is too shabby, but what do you think it is going to take?
Well, I think it's just going to take being completely healthy and we just have the numbers wise, we just got to have more bodies there and more opportunities to score. I think that's really the only way I mean, you're scoring that many points at a national meet, it's hard to combat it. So
Yeah.
we're still scoring, 60 points plus sometimes, and it's hard to even do that. So we just got to we can control as many people there as we can, and you got to score big points too, 10, 8, 6, and try to do that and get some big points on the board.
We had 4 champions, correct?
Yes, sir.
100, 4x1, and then the 5K and the 10K.
Correct.
Was that what you expected? Was that what you were anticipating? Any surprises?
I think the 4x1 was a surprise. I mean, I think we'd won 3 in a row going up to that, but we weren't very healthy going in with our second leg. So he didn't even run the prelim. His name is Jerry Jackpa, and he's been our second leg for the last few years. He was on the 38-70 team that broke the D2 record the first couple years ago in Pueblo. So he didn't run the prelim, and we put Troy White on there in the prelim, and he did enough to get us into the final. But then we were in lane 9, so we had the 8th fastest time going into the final. And then we just ended up putting Jerry back on the backstretch, and we just got it done somehow. So you still have Bazio on there, and you still have some other really good guys. So I knew we had a chance, but we were out there in lane 9, and I didn't know if he'd pull up or if we'd even get through the race. So that was a little bit of a surprise, but not talent wise. I know we have the talent, but it's more about the health wise. That was probably the biggest surprise for me. Williams never a surprise. He's tough. The guy's just a machine out there. He just competes at a high level every time, and we don't have to worry about William, coming ready to compete. And then Isaac in the 100, he's a defending national champion, so we knew he was capable of winning that.
Coach, you said this the 5th year you guys got runner up, or 4th?
5th year.
5th year. Do you get to enjoy it, or is it, oh man, not again? Or do you get to, that's a really good finish.
You still enjoy it, but you're still like, people are still in the community like, oh, they're going to get one eventually. It's one of those type things, and they don't realize how hard it is to get runner up and to keep that consistency where it's been. And Coach Baltes and Coach Rutledge I think are the ones that have been ahead of us, and obviously they do an outstanding job and with their programs, and to be up there on both sides with those programs and be consistently up there is not easy to do, and that consistency is hard to keep going. So it's an honor to be up there with those guys, and Adams, Grand Valley, Pitt, us, Wingate, and those teams that are always seem to be Minnesota State that always kind of seem to be in that top 5, top 10 range.
And you mentioned the injuries kind of nagging you guys this year and being able to kind of work around that a little bit in the relays. Does that become a thing where people get hurt and you have to kind of give them the mental toughness talks to kind of work their way around, or is it they're out and we need to replace them with someone else?
I think it kind of depends on the injury, but I think a lot of times as coaches, we're just prepared if something does happen. So in this case, with the relay, I was kind of just ready and had a plan in place for this 4x1 just in case we couldn't have the quote unquote A team out there. And then that gave that guy a couple more days just to try to get a little more recovered. And then at that point, I was like, let's just go for it and see what happens.
Being at altitude, we just talked to the Wingate coaches and they kind of gave us their game plan for being at altitude and how they prepped. How'd you prep the team?
Well, we're at a little bit of altitude in Canyon, so it's not that much higher at Pueblo. So we run at Albuquerque all the time and Denver for our, regional meet and cross country multiple years. So we try not to really talk about it too much, or it is what it is. So we're a little used to it and we're prepared. Just with our cross country teams going to Denver for that regional every other year, and then obviously just indoor we go to Albuquerque for our conference meet, and so we're a little prepared for it and don't really have to talk about it too much with our kids. But it was more about, you kind of had that trifecta: wind, hot, and then altitude. So it wasn't a distance runner's paradise out there at all.
Didn't seem to bother William too much, though, did it?
I don't even think he cares. He doesn't notice anything. He just keeps on rolling, and he knows he's got to gap the field and not make it a kicker's race or anything like that. That's not his style. So he's got to pedal to the metal from the get-go.
Yeah, I missed him on Thursday, but I caught it on Saturday when he rolled in the 5K, and he's smooth like butter. That is for sure.
Yes, sir.
And you also had a 800-meter champion on the women's side, freshman. How was that?
Yes.
Was that? And I mean, the young lady from Pueblo is top notch. She was the indoor champion. Was that a surprise at all, or did you kind of have a feeling as the season was progressing that she was gonna give her a run for her money?
I think she ran really good she's kind of one of those where she just kind of gets behind the leader and then just tries to win the race every time. And we kind of knew that she had a good meet out at Azusa, and she ran 4:20 in the 15. And then she had run like 2:03 at our conference meet by herself. And then she's been on our 4x4 as well. So she's got some range. And she was like 50 something in cross
I was just gonna
country.
say she was like 53rd or 52nd across.
So
She's got a lot of range.
a lot of range, kind of similar to I don't know if y'all remember this. We had a guy named Batari, and he could run 800 to 10K. He was 800 national champion at Grand Valley a few years back. She kind of has that where she can really run anything. So it didn't surprise us, but we knew there was a good field, and to run 202 as a freshman in that environment and those conditions, and then come back and split 53 for us on the 4x4 back-to-back days. I mean, she's tremendous, and we're holding on to her as long as we can. So we just need to keep getting her better. And Coach Daniel's done a great job with that group, obviously, and she performed at a high level when it mattered the most. So I wouldn't say we were surprised, because at conference by herself, she ran really well, and it wasn't great conditions there. And she's just been coming on all outdoor season and really looking good.
Do you have to worry at all when a young runner, a freshman like that, does so well, especially now with the climate, with the NIL and stuff, with people moving around and the transfer portal and that sort of stuff?
I mean, it's kind of in the back of your mind, like, don't run too fast. But, I think that we just have to get used to it as a staff and as coaches, and whatever happens, happens, and just never stop recruiting and be prepared for anything. And it's just the environment we're in. And, it's kind of like Moneyball, adapt or
Yeah.
die. We have to adapt and get used to this. So, but there is some part of you like, uh-oh, she's really rolling. Maybe someone's going to try to get in the portal, or ask her to get in the portal, or whatever it may be. So
Now, will she be doing any international races this summer on the track, or is she getting ready for cross?
I think she's just getting ready for cross. It was a long season for her. She's never run that much. So, I mean, in some ways, selfishly for us, we're glad she's getting the rest a little bit, and just kind of uh, get some rest over the summer and get ready for cross country and another big season next year.
Coach, you said never stop recruiting. You're always recruiting. How many seniors are you losing? How's the recruiting class coming in looking?
Well, on the women's side, I mean, we don't lose very many. We don't lose any points that scored at the national meet. So we have really everybody coming back on that side, and we're losing a couple of girls or one girl in cross country, Elise Laville, that made the meet multiple times and really contributed in cross country. She's graduating, but we've got a few girls coming in on the cross country side of things, distance side, and then really more of some multis and uh, some one sprinter that we're excited about for the class, and really everybody else is coming back on the women's side. Not too much to replace there. Men's side losing a little more. Lost obviously Williams a big hit, um, and then we've lost some other guys as well on that cross country team that did really well. But Coach Daniel's done a great job, and he's replacing them with some solid guys, and still trying to get them in. Obviously, this the student visas being on hold for a couple weeks, and some stuff there is a little scary over the summer. For our international recruits, but we feel good about our class for next year. Batio's back on the sprints. James Dodsey is a really good sprinter. He's just now getting healthy. He ran under 20 and under 10 at Western Texas a couple of years ago, but he had some major injuries, and he's just now coming back. He ran on our 4x1 and ran 10-1 in the prelims at nationals and made the final in the 200. So I think he's only going to get healthier, and we got a lot of those guys back. So we're excited about our class coming in, but we do have some key returners coming back that we're able to hold on to.
And Rich mentioned at the beginning of this segment that we had Coach Daniels on, and he is the head cross country coach, and he runs the distance program. What does your role look like as far as the head coach? Or you have any events that you're hands on, or you kind of overseeing the whole program as the CEO?
Well, kind of both. I mean, I CEO the whole program and my staff, and then I coach the sprints, hurdles, and relays, and that's kind of my background. I was a sprinter at Texas Tech for Coach Kitley there, and then I've been really a sprints, hurdles, relays coach since then. Um, but for me, I just support my staff and Coach Daniel and give him the resources and give him the scholarship money to do what he can do, and make sure I'm supporting him in every way possible. I don't micromanage my staff at all, and I let Coach Daniel do his thing and go to the meets he needs to go to, and go do what he needs to do recruiting wise, and bring in the best talent he can, because he's proven to develop that talent very well. Same thing with our associate coach Ryan Gibson with the jumps and multis. So throws as well. We've always tried to have a complete team, try to have throwers, try to score in multiple areas, and I just let my staff do their job and give them, if they find some good people, then I'm going to make sure that we can get those people and support them in recruiting those athletes and scholarships and meets, and support any way I can to help them.
Sorry, Rich, during indoor and outdoor season, are you guys all getting together once a week as a team of coaches, kind of oversee everything, or is it you kind of letting everyone kind of do their own thing?
Yeah, we're more talking about travel and making sure what meets we're going to, and making sure we're hitting qualifying marks, and where are we going to take these people to hit this mark, and we're office, right next to each other, right down the road there in our office building. So we're constantly talking, constantly group texting, and constantly trying to figure out the best way to get as many people to nationals as we can get in, and then, anything can happen from there, and just trying to get as many people qualified and give them chances to qualify. If you don't go to Boston or Azusa as a distance program, just go look at the TFERS list. You're probably not going to get in. So we have to make sure that we're budgeting money and saving money to send those athletes there. And then sprints, I mean, we're able to do that at Texas Tech. Albuquerque is probably our two main indoor venues. And then we'll go down to Pitt State every now and then if we can. But we have those two places pretty close. And then outdoor, we host a lot of meets. We have a great track. And then Texas relays, meets like that, we'll still go to those with like the sprinters and some of our mid-distance runners. So really a lot of our conversations are around how do we travel? How do we, get everybody to be at their best and get to the national meet?
Are you pulling straws for who gets to do the expense reports?
What'd you say?
I said, are you pulling straws to see who has to
Oh
do the
gosh,
expense reports?
that's mostly I delegate that mostly to Coach Daniel and Coach Gibson. They have to do that stuff. So that's one thing I don't like doing. So they hotels and setting all that up, and travel and buses and vans, and and then our GA usually does the meals. So
All right.
one perk of being a head coach, you don't have to do that anymore because I used to do that all the time. And
Yeah, no more accounting for you.
yeah,
Coach, we talked to Coach Van Lierop and Coach Domenech about um, recruiting and that sort of stuff. And obviously, with the talent that you have, the talent that they have, and the other coaches that we're talking to, sometimes you have to worry about, a D1 coach or someone saying, hey, jump in the portal or whatever. But now with things that are going on in D1 in terms of roster caps and those sorts of things, are you seeing it on the flip side of that where there's some Division I athletes who may not have given West Texas a look at a high school or now reaching out thinking that they might be on the chopping block at a Division I program because of caps?
yeah, I started seeing that a little bit. I haven't got like a major like contributor or something like that from a D1, but some of these guys that could help us, especially at the conference level, they're getting cut and then they're starting to reach out, but the portal's so flooded, it's hard to get noticed. And I'm sure it's a nightmare for those kids trying to get a hold of somewhere where they can just get an opportunity. But you'll get a call every now and then, and they'll say, "Yeah, my coach said that we had to do roster cuts, and I'm one of those, and I'm just looking for an opportunity, looking for a place to run." So, started getting those calls slowly, and I think, obviously regionals just ended for D1 and nationals is this week, so I'm sure it'll kind of keep trickling. But I'm sure most D1s have told their athletes like, "Hey, we're going to, 35 people, 30, whatever it may be." And then it's going to just start trickling down to either the mid-major level or us. So, I'm not really sure what the mid-majors are doing with the roster limits, but it may be hitting them as well. As of now, for at least for WT, we don't really have roster limits or anything like that. It's just what we think we can manage and what we think we can handle and still coach at a high level.
Coach, as far as the national championship meet, what do you think you guys did perfect, was on point, and what do you wish you could get back?
Oh, I really think my get back. I think my women's 4x4. I thought we'd place a little higher, but I think we ran. I mean, everybody was just rolling. We still broke our school record, so it's just crazy how fast it's getting, even at the D2 level. But I think we could have done better there. So that was, but I mean, nothing again. Our girls did everything they could. They ran the best they could, but I thought we might finish a little higher there and maybe place a little higher. But we would have had to have some help because Adams and, Grand Valley, the 5K kind of sealed their champion or podium trophies. It really decided the national championship as well. On the men's side, I mean, I think we weren't, Troy White is an outstanding hurdler and he just wasn't healthy. I think that was a piece we were missing in the 110 hurdles. He was ranked like top 5, top 6 in each hurdle race, and he just couldn't do enough. He just couldn't do anything physically to help us there. His back was in a bad place. So I think that injury hurt us, but he ran on the 4x1 and he's the only reason we made the final, really. So he still contributed that way, but that was like his last gasp with his body. He just didn't have anything left. So just weren't quite healthy enough on the men's side to really score some more points, and it probably wouldn't have mattered. So, I mean, we would have had to score a lot of points to win a national championship on that men's side.
And what do those conversations look like as far as the 4x4 team where you think they're going to do a little bit better, but they broke the school record, they kind of maxed out there, but they didn't get done what
Yeah.
you thought could get done. And
You
then
just
with Troy, whose body's kind of not really responding.
Well, with the women, it was more like you just tip your hat to the other teams. Everybody was just rolling. There was no mistakes, no someone's tired, no excuses. It was just let's roll, and it was just a fast race. So it was great to be a part of. So still obviously proud of the girls, and they did a great job. And most of them are back next year, so we'll use that as fuel for next year. And then with Troy, it was more about his last meet as a buff. So it's kind of sad more that he didn't get to finish it healthy and finish it the way he wants to. But that's life sometimes. So it happens.
Yeah. Coach, any key areas you're targeting on the off season?
Well, for us, for the coaching staff, it's just, there's always something we can do better with the program. So we'll just evaluate our program and try to pick some spots to get better at it, whether it's training or philosophy with weight room training, It could be the way we travel. It could be we could have done a little better travel to this meet, and maybe we'd have performed a little better, or just little things like that that may make a difference. And always try to improve our coaching acumen and just help each other. We've been together for a while, our staff, so we don't want to get complacent or get in a spot where we're settling at all.
From a strength perspective, are the track coaches implementing the strength programs? Are you working with the strength coaches? Do you have a
Coach Gib-
specific coach for the track and field team?
Yeah, Coach Gibson, our associate head coach, jumps multis. He's certified, and he kind of handles our programming, and he works in with our strength coach, and we just make sure that we're being technically sound in there, and make sure that we're teaching kids the correct way to do each lift, and basically just trying to make sure everything supplements the track and not vice versa. We want the track we want everything on the track to be priority, and the weight room supplementing that, and we try to keep that in mind and do things that are going to help us get better on the track.
And with off season, we know distance guys are getting ready for cross country. What does the sprinters in the fields of event, what do their summers look like?
We got a couple guys still training for the World Championships. We got to get those guys from Ghana that could be on the 4x1 or make it in the 100-meter. So we're still training a couple of those guys, but everybody else is kind of taking a little break, and then we'll get back in the weight room, send summer training out, and just try to keep them in shape relatively and healthy, and just come back to us in somewhat condition in the August and come back to us healthy. That's our big thing. And then we just start the process all over and start with a new team, and wipe the slate clean and get ready for another season.
Coach, the athletes, do they stick around campus for the summer, or a lot of them head back home?
Hit or miss. I mean, some of them, these international student athletes, they can't really afford to go home and come back and all that. So a lot of them stay around. Some of them go back home and may just be with their families for a little bit while they can. They're really the residential people that are from around Texas. They'll go home and get some time with family and come back summer too, take some classes or something. But it's kind of a mix of what we do. We have about 100 people in our program, so it's a little bit of a, some stay, some leave, some come back early, and then, some come back right when school starts.
Do the coaches get a little vacation?
Yeah, we'll take some time off. I think July 4th is kind of when we get with our family and do something. And, Coach Daniel and Coach Gibson and Coach Denham, our throws coach, they'll all take a little time here and there to, rejuvenate, and then, we'll get back to it and make sure that right now we're just trying to get everybody admitted, get everybody here, and make sure everybody's set and ready to roll when we get back here in August.
Okay. Is there any key takeaways in terms of with the athletes that you had with injuries and stuff that are you thinking about changing or tweaking or anything for the future?
I think we're going through that right now, and we'll try to pinpoint maybe some things we can do better in the weight room, or could be as simple as something in the warm up, something, with our training staff that we can improve on, and then try to implement that in the fall and get the athletes' feedback as well. Anything we can do better in those areas that are going to keep them healthier. And it's just, y'all know how it is, especially cross country. It's just like no time off, cross country, straight to indoor, straight to outdoor. And some of these athletes are competing again in the summer. It's just like a constant cycle. And sometimes the body honestly just needs a rest at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. A wise man once told me there's no such thing as overtraining, just under recovered. Sometimes as a college athlete, especially cross country, track and field, like you said, it's season to season through the summer. It's never ending. And sometimes just a little bit of R&R does the body really good.
Yeah. That mental break too. Just a mental reset will help too.
Coach Stewart, is there anything about the Buffs' performance at Nationals or the program as a whole that we didn't speak on that you want to talk on?
I think I think we had some younger athletes, especially really perform well. Blessing Akintoye in the 400. Peace performed well in the 400. They're both young freshmen, sophomores. So, and then we had Naomi get 8th in the 10K in that loaded field, and she's just a freshman. So there's a lot to be excited about. And you mentioned the 800 girl, just a freshman. So I think on our women's side, there's just a lot to be excited about for the future. And I think we performed performed really well, and I'm excited about their future in the indoor, outdoor, and cross country. Got a lot of those girls back that finished runner up in cross country. And then men's side, I think we had some seniors and some coming back, so we need to kind of rebuild on that side and get healthy, make sure out they meet healthy and feeling good, and see what we can do in the future at next year in Emporia, and see if we can compete at a high level and finish a little, hopefully a little higher.
One last thing for me, if Rich doesn't have anything, you mentioned those younger athletes, a couple freshmen and sophomore doing really well. How do you manage your expectations? How do you manage them? Hey, this is what we did this year, but we got to keep on building. We can't be excited for our senior year. We got to be excited for right now and make the most out of right now.
Yeah, I think there's just always those goals to strive for, and you're only as good as your last meet, and you kind of just have to have that reset of this starts a new year, and my dad would always tell me that doesn't matter what you did last year. So we'll start over, start from scratch. They know how hard they had to work to get where they were this year, and I think they're hungry to still win those national championships, defend a national championship, and um, I think that team, here we have that team culture, that team vibe, and they want to finish well as a team too. So I think that's always fun to have and fun to be around as a coach. Is obviously still an individual sport, but there is that team dynamic here where we want to be good as a team and finish well as a team. And we know the athletes are looking at that and saying, well, if I can score this, or we can score this in this relay, we'll be able to get this place, or whatever it may be. They're aware of where we are as a team as well.
Well, Coach, we do appreciate you joining us this evening. It's been an honor chatting with you. We are definitely fans of West Texas A&M and the Buffaloes. We'll be rooting for you in the fall in cross country, and definitely be rooting for you again in the indoor and outdoor season as well.
All right. Well, I appreciate the time and appreciate y'all's support for D2 track and field.
You know it.
Have a good
Have
night,
a great night.
sir.
Enjoy your summer, Coach.
You too. We'll see you.
Take care. Rocking and rolling.
Rocking and rolling. That was a good one with Coach Stewart, and on to the next one. Alumni of Airey Bros Radio, Coach Baltes. How you doing tonight, sir?
Can you hear us, Coach? He's ignoring us. Your hair looks great.
I'm trying.
We weren't sure if you could hear us or not.
How you doing tonight, sir?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing great. Thanks for joining us.
First two go well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Congratulations on a great national championship meet.
Thanks. It's an exciting finish to a stressful 3 days, or 2 days for me.
Well, you're not as hoarse as the last time we spoke to you, so that's a good thing. You've been able to recover the vocal
Yeah, I feel
cords.
feel a lot better.
So, Coach, USTF CCA Outdoor Coach of the Year. You also had the National Field Athlete of the Year and the Women's Assistant Coach of the Year. How would you rate the season? Did things go according to plan, or is there some things you wish you could have your time machine, maybe make a couple tweaks or adjust the race plan here or there?
Well, I don't know if it ever goes perfectly or totally to plan, but anytime you can come out with a NCAA championship team title and a bunch of individual titles, a meet record, all-time NCAA record, fifth farthest discus thrower in the U.S. Collegiate system. Yeah, it was a pretty good year. We had a lot of good things happen. Everything didn't go perfect and never does go perfect. But yeah, we had things come together at the end of the outdoor meet, and stressful, but very, very exciting finish to the championship.
Yeah, it was right down to the wire, wasn't it? Is it the women's 5K and the 4x4 came down to, right?
Yeah, well, none of us had anyone in the 4x4.
Mhm.
Going in, we'd scored 51 points with a lot of stellar field field event performances. Claudia O'Malley wins her first ever individual title in the 1500, sort of start the day. And then, we were just sort of waiting. We didn't have a lot going on. So going into that 5K, we Pitt State was up on us by 3.5 points, and we had a 17-point cushion on Adams State. So, and Pitt had one female in the field. We had two. Claudia coming back off that 1500, and she had never scored in a 5,000 or a 3,000 coming off of a mile or a 1500. So you just never know. And then Natalie Graber was fresh, so we felt good about that one. But Adams had six runners in the field. One fresh and Spence, who won the 5K, and then the 10K champion, the steeplechase champion, and the steeplechase runner-up. So I felt okay about it. I thought we had a chance going into the 5K. Then about a mile into the race, when Adams had 4 in the top 7 and we only had 1, and Claudia was back in 15th place, I thought there was no chance. And then things just started changing little by little, and not till 100 meters to go did we move into the position to win the meet. So pretty amazing finish. I've had 17 of these, and we've had all 17 have been awesome in one way, shape, or form. But this is pretty exciting finish all the way down to the wire. Minus the 4x4s. None of us had 4x4s. So
from a distance perspective, 1,500, 5,000 meters, you guys were at just under 5,000 feet of elevation. Was there any adjustments or any tweaks to the training plan or to the race strategies?
Training, there's not a whole lot you can do at sea level, really. We always try to prepare the best we can. So, it was 90 degrees on Friday. So going into the championship, 2 weeks prior to the championships, we had 80s and 90-degree weather. So that helped us there. Otherwise, we layer up, with long sleeves, sweats and tops and bottoms, and try to acclimate that way. Otherwise, we'd hammer our normal threshold, try to get really, really strong. One of our women, Natalie Graber, is in her final clinicals for PT to get her doctorate degree, and one of her clinicals has to be out of state, can't be in Michigan. So her and Coach Peterson started finding places that she could go at altitude in her last one. So she was out in Boulder area for 3.5 weeks prior to her racing. So we'd like to think that helped out a little bit. And, Coach Peterson and Natalie planned that out. And fortunately, Natalie had some relatives out there to stay with and whatnot. So that, certainly helped out there. And then Claudia just, it was great for her to bounce back, and she knew it was on the line and fought really, really hard to get that 6th place finish. So, and then we had two guys on the distance side race really, really well. Kobe Fraza and Owen Westerkamp. Kobe finishing 5th in the 5K and Owen 4th in the steeple. Handled it very, very well. Otherwise, it's hit and miss. Some kids it doesn't bother, and those 4 people handled it very, very well. And then a few of our other athletes, they struggled a little bit to a lot. So it just depends on the human body. The genes each person has been dealt.
Is that an overall team conversation, or is that a case-to-case basis in terms of?
Yeah, and you can't plan ahead of time. I mean, Maria Mitchell is in the best shape of her life. Went from 10:28 to 10:12 in the steeple, or 31 to 10:12 earlier this year. Was ranked 3rd, and she just it got her pretty good. And there's nothing she did wrong. It just her body didn't adjust or acclimate to it, or take it on as well as some other people did. So we don't talk a lot about it. Everyone knows you're going to altitude and it's probably going to be painful, one way, shape, or form. So, you try to be patient early in the race and conserve oxygen and not go past that red line until it's time to go past that red line, and you just got to know you can hold it all the way to the finish.
And that's not something I mean, not necessarily see championship meets, maybe in D2. I guess you guys were there 2 years ago, but collectively as coaches, is that something that people are not happy with when things like that happen, or is it just like, hey,
Well,
this is
I
what we got to
mean,
do no matter
yeah,
what?
the challenge is there's someone's got to put in a bid to host the championship. So if no one does that, and I don't know who did and who didn't, it's the fourth time Pueblo's hosted, and they do a pretty good job of hosting. Of course, the altitude teams I think like it a lot. And the majority there, over half the distance fields are altitude schools, so there's less of us that can complain. And of course, the sprinters like it. We had an incredible our men's 4x1, our men's 4x4, and Miles Rhodes in the 400 all set school records out in it. So it's beneficial for the sprinters and the speed events to some degree. So we always take the approach, whatever hand we're dealt, we're going to deal the best we can with it and prepare the best we can and compete the best we can. And if we do that, chances are good things will happen. We've been there 4 times and we've won 2 national team titles and had a lot of individual champions. So not begging to go back, but if they tell us we got to go back, we'll be ready to go.
Rich, it's the benefit of these conversations. We get to see how some of these people get extra altitude training. And did you say it was Claudia who was the one who did
No,
the
Natalie
clinical?
did.
Natalie
Graber did.
getting those clinicals. It's the benefit of having a conversation like this, Rich, that we get to figure that out. Coach, you said this was your 17th women's championship?
17 overall, men, women, cross
All
country,
right.
indoor and outdoor.
17 overall, and I know you said each one kind of stands out on its own, but we live in a culture where we like to rank things. Best Super Bowl game of all time, best NBA finals of all time. Now with some time away from the season, you get to look back and you get to do your own rankings, or like you said, is it each
Yeah, I
one
try
is
not to
kind of
do
its
that
own?
because they're all they're all special in one way, shape, or form. And it's not about me. It's about our student athletes that achieved the championship. I think only 3 women on that squad, and we took 22 women to the championship. Only 3 had been part of a NCAA championship team in the past, so they got the experience before. But the rest of them, it was their first time. So that it's special in that way, and it's great as a coach to step back and just watch them, the student athletes, soak it in. And of course our women won, our men were third and had an incredible championship meet. And they celebrated our women as much as our women celebrated the championship. So it's just great to see that unity and that synergy of each other supporting one another. But yeah, I try not to rake them.
It's like ranking your kids, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, but it was
I'm
an
the best
exciting
one,
day.
just so you know, if you were wondering. I'm the favorite.
Yeah,
Aren't we all in our own mind?
That's right.
Coach, what does the continued success, I know you mentioned some of the athletes, what does that mean to the culture of the team?
Yeah, I just think we do things right. We recruit the right student athletes, and they buy in. And like I said, it only 3 of these ladies had done it before, been part of it before. So, you just come to practice every day and work hard, and we're blessed to have student athletes that do that. And I'm blessed to have assistant coaches that do that. Our staff's blessed to have administration to do that. So, yeah, we feel we've got a good thing going on, and we've been fortunate to not have many people jump on the transfer portal. And the ones that are due are generally graduated and looking for a master's degree or doctorate degree somewhere else. So, yeah, we feel we do things the right way. We treat our student athletes right. Our student athletes treat each other right and support each other. And, you do that over time and good things going to happen. Is it going to happen every time? Probably not. We've been second at a lot of these over the years as well. And, we've been on the other side of that 1 point win. We've been on the other side many times. So we're just fortunate we got to be 1 point on the good side this time.
So you said you've been on the other side of that plenty of times, and this year came down to the final. I believe you said that kind of final event. It wasn't the 4x4 because none of you guys were in it, but came down to the end. How do you manage your emotions during this weekend, knowing it can flip back and forth throughout the whole meet, and you're contending on the men's side and the women's side?
Yeah, it's certainly a roller coaster. I'd like to say I've gotten better at handling it over the years, and sometimes I am, and sometimes I'm not. The 3-day meet, I actually wasn't there on the first day. Our son graduated high school on Thursday night. His commencement ceremony was Thursday evening, so I stayed back and watched everything from afar, either by video or just watching X's and or zeros pop up on the screen and I don't know what's worse, not being there and being stressed out, or having your discus thrower, your second best discus thrower in the country, in seventh place with one throw to go to make finals, and watching it firsthand. So yeah, I get, it's stressful watching, and you just gotta try to stay even keel as best as possible. And I sort of try to keep my emotions inside of me and stay focused on helping our student athletes be prepared and stay positive for them, and keep encouraging them to be at their best. And whatever happens to me throughout the meet, ultimately really doesn't matter. Whatever I'm feeling inside, I just deal with that and try to be there for the student athletes as best as possible.
Coach, were you sitting at your son's graduation with a headphone in and it was complete silence, and then you're jumping and screaming because something's going on?
There's no jumping and screaming, but there was only one eye on the commencement speaker. The other was on my phone. So, luckily, it was during the 1500 prelims and then the steeplechase prelim. So, luckily, those all went fairly well for us. Pat Lyle just missed the prelim, or just missed the final. But he ran a great race. So I didn't have any stomping or cussing or anything like that during the commencement ceremony.
So, Coach, first on the women's side, was it third on the men's side, correct?
Mhm.
How many are you losing? How many are coming back? How's the class coming in looking?
Yeah, so at our GLIAC championships, when we win a title, we only let the seniors go up and gather the trophy and the hardware. And Coach Conley, our throws coach, said, "Coach, that's a lot of points up there, standing up there." And we lost a lot indoors. On the men's side, uh, Miles Kerner won 3 national championships in the shot, didn't have outdoor eligibility. Eli Kosiba, who won the high jump indoors, didn't have outdoor eligibility, and Caleb Futter, who's won the mile 2 years last year in indoors, didn't have outdoor eligibility. So we lost a lot just going from indoor to outdoor, and our men competed very, very well. But yeah, we lose some very, very valuable seniors. But and we're gonna miss them, and they won't be easy to replace. But I'm confident in the returners that we have, that they will step up, just as some of these others, these outgoing seniors did over the course of their career. And we feel good about our incoming class, and both from a freshman standpoint, newcomers, the beginners, and we got some really good transfers coming in that have. Put their trust and faith and see what we're doing, and they want to be a part of it. So yeah, we feel good about it. I'm not sit here and tell you we're going to be at the top of the podium next year, but we're going to, the one thing I tell recruits is we'll always be in the conversation. we're going to be in the mix to be on the trophy stand, be in the top four at the end of the meet. And, if we keep doing things the right way, we'll have our opportunities to win a team title when it presents itself. On the flip side, Kyle's up next, and their Pitt State crew is unbelievable on the men's side right now. So, I felt our men's team this year and last year one of the best men's team in D2 history from the qualityness of across the board. Miles Kerner in the shot put, the four high jumpers that have jumped 7.3 or higher, 358 miler, Miles Rhodes 45.9 in the quarter. Pretty well versatile across the board, but Pitt State's just unbelievable. So you can't control those outside factors. We'll stay focused on recruiting at the highest level and coaching and mentoring at the highest level, and hopefully things work out. We'll be back in the conversation down the road.
Yeah. You mentioned the transfers. Talking with the other coaches that joined us earlier with the things that are going on with Division I, with the roster caps and sort of that sort of stuff. Are you seeing, is that the transfers? Are they coming from that aspect of people that maybe are on Division I programs that aren't making the roster caps, and they're looking at programs in Division II level?
Yeah, I think there's a mix of everything. We're still got the tail end of the COVID seniors, the super seniors. Natalie Graber, who was third in the 5K there, she's on her 7th year. She's finished in her 7th year because, she was we redshirted her freshman year. She got COVID eligibility back and then got hurt a year ago. So and then Claudia was a 6 year. So we're on the tail end of those, what I call super seniors. So there's some of those individuals out there looking. Of course, you've got those exiting the D1 programs or not invited back, or just looking for a different environment. We got a few of those. The junior college. I think the biggest piece is there's just less opportunities in those D1 programs. So good athletes. You don't have places to go. So there's a lot of incredible junior college athletes that, in the past maybe would have found a landing spot on one of these D1 rosters, but because they're out of spots, there's no opportunities there. So I don't know how much is going to help us. We're certainly going to help us on the transfer side of things. I think that'll level out a little bit over the next year or two. I think it'll help us on the front end immensely because, a lot of these Power Fours or high level D1s probably aren't going to recruit one. They're not going to recruit as many high school seniors. And they may just go more to the international route, or they may go more to the JUCO route, or relying on 4-4 transfers. So I think we'll benefit on getting higher level student athletes out of high school, which we already have, but so will everyone else, right? I mean, it's not like Grand Valley's the only one that has the opportunity to recruit, say a 405 1600 runner, or a 6'11" high jumper that maybe we didn't have an opportunity in the past, but so does Pitt State, so does West Texas, so does Adams State, so does Wingate. So I think everyone's going to benefit from it. We sort of call it the trickle down effect. The D2s are going to recruit probably less 420 guys, and those 420 guys will end up maybe at D3 or a different D2 school or NAIA. So there's still plenty of opportunities out for high school track and field athletes. They just may not be at the Power 4 level that many have expected in the past.
What's going to be your focus for the summer?
Well, we still got a lot to do to, everyone, we had our son's grad party yesterday, and everyone's asking me, hey, how's summer going? How's summer going? I always tell people I can work as little as I want in the summer, as much as I want, but how much I work or how little I work will be a direct reflection on my results in the future. My results will reflect that. So we stay pretty busy. We certainly got to get away and take some time, try to do a little bit more family stuff. Our son Jack, who's just graduating, trying to get to all the Major League Baseball parks. So we're going out to Southern Cal next week, catching the 3 teams out there. It's the only time they were all home on the same span. So we'll catch Anaheim game, LA Dodgers game, and a Padres game, and try to do little things here and there. But we spend a lot of time recruiting in the summer. We'll have each of our event coaches will have, probably 10 to 15 upcoming seniors, 26 grads on campus. Spend 3 to 5 hours with them and their family, and just trying to lay some groundwork and get to know each other and show them all the good things we have. So that takes a lot of time when
Yeah.
you're doing 15, 20 of those a day at a time.
You got to get a chance to go to the lake at all?
I'm not a big lake guy.
No?
It's only that's the one thing. There's always stuff in your back door that you take for granted. And whether it's living in Colorado and not going to the mountains, or not living on the beach and not going to the beach. So we'll go out and see the beach, but I don't lay on the sand or anything. Plus, since
Yeah.
redhead, the complexion doesn't go over too well. So no, I'd rather. We like the national parks and stuff like that. So um, we'll do stuff like that throughout the year. Not as much this year, probably, with being in LA, but we'll take it all in little by little.
Okay. I got a Padres story for you.
All right, I'm ready.
So I've only been to one Major League Baseball game ever in my
Okay.
entire life. It was for the San Diego Padres when I was living in North County, San Diego,
Mhm.
and I caught a foul ball.
Nice. My son, he always got to get there when the gates open, try to batting practice, and pretty much leaves every game with one or two or three balls, whether foul balls or home runs, or when the outfielders throw them up into the stands in between innings. So
Yeah, it was a Padres game versus the Cubs, and my friend that I was with, he
oh,
was a Cubs fan, so I caught it, and then I gave it to him because baseball was never on the menu growing up as a kid, so I just went to take in an experience, and he was a big Cubs fan, so hopefully he still has that ball somewhere with him.
we too are Cubbies fans. So
Okay.
if he doesn't want it, send it our way.
All right. Brian Spangle, if you're out there listening,
That's
Coach
great.
Baltes wants that ball.
Coach Baltes, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Congratulations on a great track and field season, and we hope we get to talk to you during cross country next year,
Appreciate it,
next
fella.
season.
Give Rutledge a hard time for me.
Oh, you know it. We will.
All right, see you guys.
Take care.
Take care. Coach Rutledge, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. Can you guys hear me?
We
We
can.
can.
All right. Well, I'm at my kids' track practice. I forgot I had to do my community service today and come work with them at the Girard Track Club. So I
Well,
apologize for sitting in my car.
No, we appreciate you taking the time to chat with us and talk about your continued success at Pittsburg State. It was fun watching the event from afar on my computer, and all the guests that we've had on before you are trying to crack the puzzle as to how the heck they can beat the gorillas.
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep up with the guy that was on before me. That's all I'm trying to do.
So let's get into it. What is the key to keeping ahead of Coach Baltes and bringing home? It was 5 titles, correct?
4 outdoor and 3
outdoor.
indoor. So 7 total if you're counting indoor and outdoor. So the key is to keep my coaches happy and keep them around as much as I can. I mean, again, we're only as successful as the coaching staff and what they lead those young men and women. I mean, it really is just making sure that the core unit is together and cohesive, because that's kind of where everything starts, and without them, we wouldn't be where we're at. So I got to give a lot of credit to Coach Crow, Coach Miller, Coach Mantooth, and Coach Barrows. Those guys are the glue. They hold everything together.
Was there anything that surprised you about the men's championship performance, and anything that you wish you could get back, or did it go perfect?
Oh, well, no championship ever goes perfect. I mean, of course, the 4x1, I don't want to start negative stuff, not getting the baton around, but that happens in that event when you've got 4 guys that are extremely talented and they want some big goals. Just unfortunate. And then Mason Strader not making finals. It just kind of got boxed in and couldn't really do what he wanted to do. But, outside of that, we had some really good performances. I mean, Nate Watson really stepped up, and that was a huge surprise with the talented field that they had in the 400 winning it. Of course, what DePriest does is just phenomenal. And then, of course, the hurdles going 1, 2, 3. I mean, anytime you can do that at Division II at any level with that type of talent, that's kind of fun to watch and exciting. But overall, I think it was just a complete men's team that was fun to be around, and they helped each other. They made each other better. I mean, Caleb Calvin in the javelin winning it finally after 4 years of knocking on the door. It was good for him. But there's so many that we just had a lot of fun. Had a great group.
Coach, was being with the meet in Pueblo and being at a little bit higher than where you guys reside down in Pittsburgh, was there any adjustments to training leading into the event or tweaks to race strategies or anything like that? I know like it doesn't necessarily impact the sprints, the jumps, the hurdles, and the throws and those sorts of things where you guys dominate, but was there any adjustments or preparations? Because I know sometimes even for the sprinters, each person has different physiology where it can hit someone hard and they not expect it.
No, not really. I mean, it's not extremely high altitude, so anything you might feel is very minimal in the long scheme of things. I mean, our guys adjusted fine, and how we train and how we're able to push these guys and to make sure they're in physical condition to handle any situation, they were able to adapt to it, and they did just fine.
Yeah. Coach, before I forget, I do want to mention one thing as I follow y'all on social media and stuff. I have to commend you because, as you know, Jimmy and I are strength, we have backgrounds in strength and conditioning. We do strength coaches. It brought a tear to my eye to see all of your athletes in weightlifting shoes when you guys are in the weight room, because sometimes when I see professional athletes in the weight room and they're in their training shoes, it drives me crazy. Like, you have a sponsorship with Nike or Adidas, please tell them to send you a pair of weightlifting shoes. And it just warmed my heart to see all the gorillas in their weightlifting shoes.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a recruiting ploy, but yeah, we buy all our freshmen weightlifting shoes. That's just part of what they get. We've had a lot of feet problems in the past, and we're just trying to minimize it, but also help these athletes understand that, making sure that your foot is in proper placement and you have the right equipment to do what you need to do. I mean, we lift pretty hard and we lift aggressively throughout the entire year. So yeah, I appreciate that. That's something that a lot of people don't understand, and tennis shoes don't do it justice when you can't have a good foot placement on the ground.
Well, that wasn't lost on us. We caught that. We talked about it.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Coach, with the men winning and bringing home another title 4 in a row, women getting third, do you get to enjoy it? Did the women do what you thought they could do? Could they have done better? Do you want to take home titles on both sides all the time, or is there room to back? Hey, we got third. That's still pretty good.
Oh man, it's still tough. I'll be honest with you. We had a team that we really thought we could do it. We knew 60 points going into it that's what it was gonna take. Whoever the race to 60. And we just knew we had to have a really good meet. We knew Grand Valley had a great squad. We knew Adams State. I mean, what he does and what they're always show up the national championship, and we knew they were going to be coming strong. What Coach Martin does with his group. So, you can't hang your hat, especially now. We need top 3 with that group. You can't be upset, but to know you're so close, that's also kind of gut wrenching. So of course we always want to win it or be in the hunt like we were, but after indoors, yeah, we thought we had a shot. So it's still tough. I'm still trying to grasp everything that happened and all the good moments that happened. It takes weeks to kind of go over all of it because how proud you are of those kids. But yeah, overall, you can't be disappointed. I mean, that's just a championship. You get top 3 in Division II or any division, and you're among some of the elite programs. That's saying something, and you're making them earn it, and that's just what you can ask for from a championship. I mean, hats off to, Coach Baltes and his staff and App State and Dave Martin, his staff. I mean, it was just fun. It was a great meet for the women, and it was exciting. When it comes down to the 5K, it's all you can ask for.
Do you guys joke around as coaches, or is it like, because I know like I had some people that I was very friendly with as a coach, and then there's other people who are just like, I want to beat that person. What's the relationship between you three?
Tremendous amount of respect, especially on my end. I mean, I've known Damon Martin for a long time. My dad was a track coach at Adams State for a while, and got to know my family, knew him there, and throughout the years got to know Coach Baltes and his staff, and just a tremendous amount of respect. I do consider them as great friends, and they are older than me, so mentors. I mean, it's, yes, you want to beat them, but also losing to them is not a bad thing. I mean, it's just great people that coach great kids, and they do it the right way. So you can't be upset. You just have a lot of respect for them and continue to battle, and hopefully we get them next year.
Yeah. We talk with the coaches. We don't rebuild, we reload. So what's it looking like for the Gorillas? How many are you losing? How many you got coming back? What's their incoming recruiting class looking like? Have you been able to capitalize off of some of the things that are going on in Division I with roster caps, with transfers?
We are. Currently, it's a madhouse. I mean, you're recruiting constantly. I think when I got back from nationals, I had 5 recruits that week, and I had 3 the previous week. It's just nonstop, and you're just trying to stay ahead of it. So overall, we're in a really good spot. I'll say that. I'm never gonna, count my chicken before they hatch, but we're in a really good spot. We're getting depth. Our women are returning a lot, and so that's a good thing. We've added some really good holes that we needed, so we feel good where our women are. We're still kind of recruiting that side of it, but we're close to finishing up on the women. Man, we're still trying to find a few more holes. We lost a lot more than I wanted to, just because of graduation. And we had some older guys, but we've got some younger guys that are coming up. We redshirted some that we knew we're going to need for the long run, that we're going to be at the national stage. So overall, we're in a good spot. I mean, you never feel comfortable, especially in today's age, where a kid could tell you that they're transferring out in a month and you're left empty-handed. So what we're trying to do right now is prepare for the worst, and trying to get more depth than we need in certain areas, just in case something was to happen. And especially with our events that we do. I mean, we're so sprints and jumps heavy. And when you coach those events and you're relying on those events, those are high risk events. They really are. You could have a hamstring pull. You could have a guy that doesn't pan out. You have great issues. I mean, all those things could come about just with the certain events that we do. And so you always want to be deeper, and you always want to have a little bit more depth than you're comfortable with, just to avoid anything that you don't foresee happening or anything that might foresee happening.
I don't think I've ever seen a Pitt State athlete on the stride report. Do you have to worry about that sort of stuff?
No, Coach Barrows does a really good job, and we've got guys that are bought in and program guys. So we're pretty fortunate right now. I mean, don't jinx me now, but
No,
knock on wood. But no, Coach Barrows does a great job of those distance guys, and they're bought in, and he's developed such a great program within our program. A few years ago, we weren't very relevant in the distance squad. We knew to be at a championship caliber team, we had to be more balanced. And Coach Barrows took that head on and wanted to be more relevant in Pitt State as a distance school, and knowing that we can compete with those guys head to head. And he's done a phenomenal job. He really has. And that is fun to go to a meet when you've got people in the mile and the 800, and you've got some girls in the 5K and 10K. And we're finally getting to being relevant across the board in all events.
Yeah, it's tough to beat people when they scoring across the board.
Mm-hmm. And that's something we've really taken on, and our throwers are doing great. And I think that's what's helping us be successful and be able to overcome anything that, drop baton in the 4x1, things like that you have to be able to overcome. Yeah, that's what's helped us, is our teams, our girls and guys know that we're just next person up.
And you guys won with 111 points. Is that the highest amount you've scored in those last 4 years?
Yes. Yeah, it has. I mean, that's our women scored 100 last year, and that was the most any teams ever scored on the Pitt State program at national meet. So then they had to go 111.
Okay, they one-upped them.
Yeah, they did.
Coach, we talk about the importance of recruiting, but you also talked about you had some red shirts that are there building. How important is it to have those kids come in red shirt, have a year or two in the program where they're learning the program, learning the system, and maybe keeping them off the radar? And then when you have some horses that go on, graduate, that they can come right in and people don't know who they are. And they're like, where'd this junior come from? Where'd this sophomore come from?
Well, that's something we pride ourselves on, of just developing the kids, especially in the field events, since we're very field event heavy. And to be able to compete at the national level, these kids have to develop and they have to have time. And that's something that we've taken a lot of pride in, especially if you look at our jumpers, our pole vaulters, our multis, our high jump. We like to take our time with these kids and make sure that they're developing the right way. But the other big factor is we look at that makes them a program type kid. You know, they buy into what we're doing, they buy into the belief, and they buy into each other that the system works. And when you have a kid that does that, then they're more invested into the program and they give more of themselves back to the program because of that. And I think that's what really makes us unique of just how we develop and how we develop these kids to make them program type kids that are going to be here for 5 years. And they invest themselves into everything Pitt State. And that's why we love our kids. And they buy into that and they understand what we're trying to develop over time.
Talk about that buy-in, Coach. What's the focus for the off season? What's gonna keep that competitive edge as we head into the fall and get ready for indoor? And do you have to worry about things like accountability with the guys and gals? And if so, what do you do how do you keep that accountability?
Oh, sure. Every program has to deal with that.
Mhm.
And, you know, what we try to do is make sure they understand it's a new year. It's a new team. You know, whatever the team did last year, nobody cares about it, to be honest with you. And the other schools don't really care what you did last year. They just want to beat you now. So we always have to have that chip on our shoulder. And it starts in the fall. It starts in our training of how we push these kids and how we challenge these kids to make sure that they're not settling and being complacent. That's the hardest thing we always have to battle. But any program has to do that. Any program that's had success battles that complacency at some point in time. And it's a job as a coaching staff to make sure that we don't. And so it was a long email for, you know, making sure we understand what our objectives are over the summer and that next year starts now. And we can't get complacent and just making sure, like back to those program type kids, of we know our objectives are and what we're trying to accomplish, and that it starts with us as coaches, but filters into the upperclassmen, and then filters into the rest of the group. So that's our objective every year.
Coach, do you have kids that hang back on campus to train for the summer? Are you guys having track camps, cross country camps, anything like that?
We don't have a lot of camps. I'll be honest with you. Where we're at, we don't have a lot of, I guess, it's not a very big populated area, so it's hard to get camps. And also, my coaches, we work so hard during the year that I want to make sure that I tell them, say, get away from track, because I need them refreshed. I need them to recharge that battery. So I don't really force them to do camps. I might do one if I feel the need to, but to be honest with you, I want my coaches to be recharged, and I tell our kids to get away from it too, and get away from track and enjoy life a little bit, because once we get going, we don't stop. And I'm a firm believer in a hungry dog eats best. So I want you hungry when we hit August.
Put that on a t-shirt. a hungry gorilla.
Yeah. So that's my philosophy. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I just firmly believe, like, when we hit August, we don't stop till end of May. And I want my coaches refreshed. I want them excited to come back. And I want my athletes excited to be back. So they know what their objectives are, what they need to do. So we don't have a lot that stay. we'll have a few that are still training for U20s and USA championships. But outside of that, I don't really force them to stay. I want them to go back home and mentally and physically recharge.
What does Kyle Rutledge do to refresh?
Right now, I'm chasing my own kids around. We had baseball tournament this weekend, had track practice with my kids right now, and baseball games tomorrow, and then a track meet this weekend. So, I'll recharge when I'm dead, maybe.
Yeah, call me when you're 49.
I'm really trying to keep my real boss happy, the one at home. That's all I'm trying to do.
Happy wife, happy life.
Coach, you mentioned baseball, you mentioned track practice. Do the kids get dad or do they get Coach Rutledge?
A little bit of both. It kind of depends on what you're showing me at practice.
Attitude and effort, right?
That's right. You don't show effort and you have a bad attitude, you're going to get Coach Rutledge. If you've got good attitude and effort, you get dad.
I like it.
What do you get? You got a sprinter? You got a distance runner or a field athlete? What do you got?
My oldest daughter does a 200, 400.
Okay.
And then my youngest one, which is a twin, she does long jump, hurdles, high jump. So she will be my heptathlete.
So you got an
Eventually.
800-meter runner and a heptathlete.
She does not want to do the 800. I told her, I was like, well, if you do really good in the 6 previous events, you don't have to run the 800 that fast. That's the trick. And then my other boy, he's baseball and football, a typical American kid. So.
All right.
Do the track coaches try to get some pointers from you? Do they have you right in workouts, or they let you be dad?
They do a good job, since a lot of them are my friends and their kids. They ask me, but they don't push it. So I kind of, if I'm around, I'll help. If not, I like to just sit back and watch and let my kids listen to somebody else. It's good for them.
Yeah.
Coach, with the success of the team has had, do you have any athletes that are going to U.S. nationals or junior nationals or anything like that?
We do. We actually have a lot. So I've got I got a guy hurdler going to U20s, Tyrone Jackson. He went 1350, and then Kayvon Newbine in the female hurdles that went 1338, and then we redshirted Matthew Molstrom, who is a decathlete, and he actually just scored 7,000 points with the collegiate implements this last weekend at the great Texas Greats Athletes. So he qualified for the U20s in the decathlon. And so he was a redshirt kid that he didn't compete. He was one of those kids we knew that he's going to be really good. And he'll score, I really feel, mid 7,000s next year as a redshirt freshman.
Nice.
So he's going to be good. And then we've got 14 right now that are qualified for the USA Championship senior. We've got the hurdlers, we've got javelin thrower, we've got hammer thrower, we've got a high jump girl, we got pole vault. Our sprinters, the priest has made it, Nate Watson. I know I'm missing a few, but I calculated, I think we've got about 14.
Nice. Congratulations.
So we got a busy summer ahead of us.
Heck yeah.
Hunter Jones in decathlon, he made it from last year's mark, so he'll get in.
Okay. Will you be heading out?
I will. So I leave next week with U20s and then come back, and then we'll fly out, I think the Tuesday before the championships.
Both in Eugene?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. You like it out there?
I do. It's great facility, great place, great area, just awful to get to.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
It's no easy way to get there, but great facility, and it's just a great experience for the kids, and to get them in that type of meet, it's good for them to be in an uncomfortable situation. It just helps them along.
And imagine having that many people at that caliber of meet also helps with recruiting too. Yeah.
It helps. I will say that it does.
Nice.
Well, Coach Rutledge, it was great catching up with you. Safe to say we will probably see you again after another championship season. So thank you so much. Get back to track practice and have a good summer.
I appreciate it, gentlemen. As always, it's great, and you do a great job. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We appreciate you. And yeah, like Jimmy said, enjoy track practice, enjoy the baseball game, enjoy nationals. Good luck, and get a little refreshed, and make sure the missus is happy.
Will do, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Have a great
Take care,
summer,
sir.
Coach.
Bye.
What a night, Rich.
That was pretty awesome, dude. Pretty awesome. I'm pretty excited for tomorrow night with the Division III coaches in that roundtable. But you know, these Division II these are our people. We've talked to all these coaches, with the exception of Coach Stewart, but we had Coach Daniel on, so I feel really connected to all these people and have great conversations. And as we say, the more we connect with people, the easier the conversation flows. So, man, hats off to all the programs: Wingate, West Texas A&M, Grand Valley, Coach Rutledge at Pitt State, Coach Baltes, Coach Stewart, Coach Van Lierop, Coach Domenech joining us tonight. We really appreciate their time and their presence, and making a great episode for our first Nationals roundtable recap. So really excited with the product that we just put out, and I'm excited for tomorrow night's Division III roundtable.
Heck yeah, Rich. This is why we started the podcast. I hope our fans enjoy it as much as we did, because that was a great roundtable. And like you said, tomorrow night we got another one. So stay tuned. More to come, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right. Same bat time, same bat channel tomorrow night. Ladies and gentlemen, we will have the Division III coaches from the Outdoor Track and Field Championships joining us. So enjoy your